My name is Dr. Nnanna Ukpai. I am a medical doctor by training, currently serving as a consultant ENT surgeon with Nnanna University Teaching Hospital. I'm a graduate of Hardy Business School and certified project manager with University of Washington. I'm the lead pastor of School of Destiny, a house that God has given the responsibility of human capital development, as our vision is raising leaders, releasing destinies. We seek to turn followers to leaders and leaders into agents of change, and also to help people actualize the destiny inherent in them that God gave them. The first encounter I had that birthed the journey of Opus that eventually became the marching order for the ministry was in November 3rd, 2004, while praying and seeking the face of the Lord in a fast to get clarity on what I was supposed to do and be. Being in third year medical school, I was tired, confused, discouraged, not being excited about the practice because I didn't see any connection between the burdens of my heart and my career path and choice. But around 4 p.m. while praying all through the day, the word of the Lord came to me in my room and said, by my wisdom and power, deliver my people from all oppression of hell and bring them into their God-given destiny. From that evening, I had a sense of clarity, because when God speaks, He doesn't speak for you to understand. His speakings come with understanding. I was able to make the connection between my purpose as the ministry God gave me and the platform and its connection to my career pathway. At that time, my medical inclination began to make a lot of sense, confirming what He told me as far back as 1998 with respect to not taking ecclesiastical title, but that He will use me to do things. But at that time, they were not clear, but what He was speaking at that moment became very convincing and very clear. Then going forward, being one of the pastors of Living Faith Church, one of the mission stations in Jamari, in Bauchi, one of the Saturday early morning, I was seeking the face of the Lord. I came and started my devotion, but before that particular day, there had been a burden for like 3 days in my heart, praying, but not knowing what the burden was about. But that morning, I opened my Bible to study. I entered into a trance. In my mind, the duration of the experience appeared to be like a 3-hour experience. But when I woke up from that trance, it was just barely 30 minutes. In that trance, I saw people in a dark alley, wounded, bleeding, discouraged, fainting. And I came into that premises with light, not a candle, not a lantern, but as if light was beaming out of me. And seeing them, something stirred in me. What happened? What injured you? What led to? So I saw myself reaching out, helping, encouraging, comforting, and some of them were more like shouting, finally you have come, as if they had been expecting me. And then the voice of His Majesty echoed at the background, shouting, you are waiting for too long. Turn on the light that they may see. That was the marching order. So immediately I received that, I knew that, number one, my time in Bauchi was up. 2, the time to start the things He asked me to do has come. But where to start, I didn't know. So as I kept on praying, the Lord spoke to me and said, you shall come to Nnewi and raise me a people. So that led to my migrating to Nnewi. And then that was in 2012. This encounter that He gave me in that vision happened on the 6th of May, 2012. By April 13, 2013, we started a prayer walk, a 1-year prayer walk. And that was the first meeting School of Destiny had. And we started everyday prayer except Saturdays for 1 year. And a year thereabout, School of Destiny fully started. So these encounters in the moments of discouragement seem to be what brings my consciousness to the things that God has said concerning the vision. One of the problems about a man's election is that no matter how clear the instruction you have received, you always feel that you are not good enough. That was why Paul, writing in 2 Timothy, said, Satan speak to Lord, who counted me worthy and put me into ministry. And because you have that sense of unworthiness, why you? Why not someone else? That was one of the early challenges I had. Despite the clarity of the calling, I had that doubt. Am I sure you're good enough for this? Sending you to solve the problem of humanity. The first part that scared me was all operation of hell. That was scary, discouraging at the human realm. But the place of prayer had a way of always getting me up from it. Then the second challenge of starting ministry is the challenge of funding. Having pastored the Living Faith, that helped me to learn how to start ministry with nothing. So I had to run by faith. At that beginning phase, all the financial load of ministry, funding, and everything was on my shoulder. And that was pretty challenging. So usually, when young people tell me, the Lord has called me, I usually encourage them to take time to prayerfully prepare and get structures that will help you navigate those challenges. Because a lot of people started, they abandoned it because of some of these financial challenges. Okay? And then the third challenge back then was when we started, we experienced a lot of criticism. Because what God asked us to start School of Destiny is not a church. We won't call it a ministry. It was more of a training center, and it was new to the environment at that time. We had a lot of voices who were against it. We had a lot of voices that came compelling us, why don't you make it a church? And these were challenges to my soul at that time, at the early phase of the walk. But looking back right now, I can say I have run the race. I've kept the course. Because as the seasons are unfolding, the clarity of the relevance of parabolic ministry and the marketplace ministry is becoming louder. But 11 years ago, that was not the end thing. It was not having evening meetings, was not an end thing. So, but we bless God for giving us strength to stand on our calling. Just like Paul was admonishing the Corinthian church, said, let every man abide in his calling. So that challenge of abiding in what you have received, despite the thoughts of men, even people you respect in ministry, and the subjections of men, and even the rejection of men, because it was not aligning with what was popular. And at the time, we seem to be out of box in terms of comparing other ministries. But one of the scriptures that helped me, or one of the revelations that helped me navigate that process, 2 Corinthians 10, verse 12, he said, we are not of them that compare ourselves with ourselves, for they that compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. I knew God has called me to do something different. I rather be different standing with God than to do what everybody is doing and have God not with me. Now, one of the misconceptions about ministers, when the people or their members look at them, they have this hero, superhero perception or mentality about them that these ones, they don't have problems, because 70% of the time you see and spend with them is from the pulpit. So the ministry comes with a lot of burdens, challenges, discouragements, that sometimes you see yourself second guessing yourself. And the moments of discouragement when the stipulated vision is not running at the pace you want, despite your every effort, the strategies you've learned, you've applied, you seem to be doing everything right, but it's not running at the pace your human mind calculated. One of the things that greatly helped me survive those periods is, number one, is the comfort of scriptures. Because the word came strong to me. Faithful is he that called you. He will do it. He may not do it the way you want. He will do it the way he wants. Number two, every vision is for an appointed time. At the end, it will speak. It may not speak now, but it will speak. Number three scriptural comfort that I had was that Apollos, Paul planted, Apollos water, God gave the increase. That I will not do planting and watering and also do the increase. Okay, so this became the comforts of my soul. Two were the exposures received from mentors. So when I read the biographies of some of the people who were my mentors in ministry, how they started off. One of the days I went to Enugu, and my wife pointed to me the building where one of my mentors, the church was, and at that time the seating capacity was not up to 50 consistently. And at that time, he was even rated as one of the great preachers from the East. Something hit me. Oh, guy, you're still on track. You'll get there. It's a matter of time. Just keep doing what he asked you to do at the pace he asked you to do it, at the tempo he asked you to do it. Apollos, Paul plants, Apollos water, God gives the increase. And number three is the discipline of continuous education. One thing in ministry is that one of the things that prevent you from expiring is continuous training. Because we know in part, we prophesy in part. So attending trainings have a way of giving you more perspective, more hope to help you survive seasons of discouragement. Wow. Leadership resonates a lot with me because that is one of the core responsibility that God gave man at creation. He said that let them have dominion over the fishes of the sea, over the birds of the air. That is leadership. The greatest wake-up call I had about leadership is that leadership success does not stem from position, it stems from influence. And you will not influence people until you have made impact in people. The greatest understanding is God's perspective of leadership, which is stewardship. And you can only impact people you have served. That became the framework that actually unlocked heart for people, make me to believe in people even when they don't believe in themselves. Because if you're going to lead people beyond where they are to a place where you believe they should be, even if they don't believe in themselves, they need to see through the sincerity of your intention, the care of your heart, your devotion to make them a better version of themselves. From those graded levels of impact over time will cultivate influence that will make them want to follow. You know, vision is the ability to see people, things, and places not the way they are, but the way they could be. So that vision is is the primary driving force of leadership. So from that framework, you will be able to impact people, and that impact will create influence in their heart and compel them to follow. So just like a Chinese proverb said, if you are leading and nobody is following, you're actually taking a walk. So that early realization made my ministry orientation when it comes to leadership to be service oriented, not so. Leadership is not a title, it's a function. This is one of the greatest challenge of every minister. I call it a greatest challenge because this experience does not happen as an event to a minister, but it has the potential to change the texture of their heart for ministry. Yes, I've been hurt. I've been betrayed a couple of times. At the point I lost count. I used to say that if Jesus had come between 2016 to 2018, I don't think I would have made heaven, because at that time I was leading, I was not pastoring, because a lot of people stood up, fought division, labeled us what we are not, lied to us, stole from us, and a couple of them were even the people I housed, and it's just a very disappointing experience. But over the years, looking back, I found out that every betrayal of ministry is not targeted at the ministry, it's targeted at the minister, so that he would lose the compassion for ministry. Because Hebrews chapter 5 verse 1, he said, the high priest that is taken from among men to offer sacrifices for sin for men, the Bible said he must be compassionate. Once a minister loses his heart for people, he is no more a shepherd. He is only a CEO. So within that moment, or within those periods, it was actually a very challenging moment for me. How did I overcome them? It didn't come easy for me, because that was the first for me. And then when it was not happening back to back, first I began to second guess myself. Is there something I'm doing wrong? And then at some point, I found it difficult believing investing in human capital anymore, because I asked myself, then what is the point doing it if the same people without capacity, you give them capacity, on the grounds of the capacity, they end up hurting. The first system that began the healing of my soul was one of the days I was having a meditation, and in my apparent discouragement, subtle, and these things come when you are all by yourself. The word of God came to me very strong and said, you don't reap where you sow, you reap what you sow. It's not about the people you are investing, it's about the kingdom you are investing. For everyone that will walk out, I will give you people that will walk in. That was the first comfort in my soul. The second was, have I not sent you? That word that the angel told Gideon, have I not sent you, go in this thy might? They are not the ones that called you. I am the one that called you. Stay faithful to the calling. That you had failures, what you consider failures, is not an invalidation of your call. And secondly, while I was thinking about it, this one was not God telling me. It was more like my own assessment. This may be God weeding out the wrong seeds for you. So at the long run, I found comfort in those meditations. And but just like as a human being, once in a while, the people that will hurt you, it's not that they will hurt you and now go to another city. They will be around you. They will come and say, good morning, sir. Some of them will now see you and not even greet you, And once again, the pain will just wake up as if you just had a fresh wound. So I will not forget. That was in 2000 and either 2007 or 2008, What Fest in House of the Rock, Nnewi. I attended the meeting. My covenant brother, Pastor JP, was the host of the meeting. So in one of the meetings, Pastor Obi Chinedu, he had a section. No. It's not What Fest. Rather, it was honor service. I think that was honor service. He ministered, and after his ministration, I went into the office and we just got talking. While he was talking, as if his countenance changed, and he started talking about ministry and people. God put that word in his mouth. He began to talk about the life cycle. People are born, people die. People come, people go. That the system remains. That word, people come, people go, but the system remains. Then I now asked him a question. He said, how do you deal with when people hurt you? He said to me that the greatest treasure of ministry is your heart, not the work. That protect your heart at all costs. If you lose your heart, you lose the work. Because I won't forget that scripture he quoted. He said, my son, give me your heart. If God does not have your heart, he's not involved in the work. So I left that place determined. So when we finished exchanging pleasantry, and then he just looked at me and said to me, he said, forgive those people that offended you. It's not worth the burden to carry. So I told him, God bless you, sir. So I had to leave for another meeting that evening. But my healing journey began that day. I went home, released everyone from my heart. Whether they saw me as a leader or not, it didn't bother. Whether they greeted or not, they never. The interesting thing is that eventually most of them came around. Even currently, about 99% of them were in a very good talking relationship. Many of them still honor me today, But sometimes in management of some of those crises, the Bible says, he that handleth a matter well receiveth profit. So this is the good side, but there are some who never bothered coming back, who never bothered even reaching out. But I still pray for them. This is actually the stretch of every leader and every minister. And the excellency of a man is not in his result, it is in his balance. You can excel in business and fail at home. You have not excelled. So the day God began to echo balance so strong was he used the scripture 2 Kings chapter 5. I think that should be verse 4, where Solomon said, God has given me rest on every side. There is no adversary or evil occurrence. That is to say, home front is good, business is good, ministry is good. And balance is the measure of maturity. So, this was how my journey began. First of all, I had to look at what is God's order of emphasis for life and ministry. Before I got married, ministry was first, career second, family life third. But when I got married, Ministry was still first, career was second, family was last. And those early phase had a lot of frictions with regard to that. And in one of those days, I attended a meeting where one of my brothers was sharing and began to lay emphasis on family should come first. Now, the challenge is that there is no minister that is not consumed by the zeal of the election. And sometimes you tend to pour your whole energy, time, and resources into it. And by default, you make it the principal thing in your life. That sometimes we even do it at the expense of our health, we do it at the expense of strategic relationship, you even do it at the expense of intimate relationships in your life. But after that section I had with him, I went home and began to look at biblical templates for execution of a man's purpose. I found out that from Genesis to Revelation, God had a pattern he repeated. The first, what he did was he gave man his presence, he gave man his purpose, then he gave man strategic relationship to help his execution. And then when he wanted to empower man to execute the assignment, he didn't empower the work, he empowered the team to do the work. It means the team was more important than the work. The Bible said, and he blessed them. So when Paul was now giving his revelation or perspective of ministry, he said that he that must rule God's house must first rule his own house, having his children in subjection. And if you cannot rule your house, you cannot rule God's house. So it made me place priority on my personal spiritual or personal health well-being, because if you are not effective as a person, you're not going to be effective with family, neither will you be effective in ministry. Okay, so how do I bring balance? Having this aforementioned understanding, it drove me to the place of seeking personal effectiveness. And in learning personal effectiveness, I learned time is a fixed asset. You have the same time for very important things in your life. So I have the responsibility to manage my task. I have the responsibility to manage my team. Because the only way you redeem time is to manage your task and to manage your team. So I learned the act of managing the things I do, instead of doing everything, to select the very important things I have to do and delegate the other things to others who can help me do it. And because without that, it will be almost impossible to run the few chapters we'll have. So, because previously then, I will preach in the town chapter, I'll go to a coffee chapter, I'll preach in town chapter, and I did it for 3 years, 4 years, consistently. And some of the times, I'll preach morning section in town, go to a coffee, preach another morning section there, come back to town if we have an evening training. And at the end of the day, you feel a sense of accomplishment in your soul, but your body will tell you, you have overdriven me. But as you begin to get older, you begin to get wiser. That actual measure of success in ministry is not what you can do, but what can be done through others that you have trained. Okay, so one of our chapters, I've only visited them once and they are growing. So I learned one of the ways to manage the stress and challenge in ministry is set your priority right. Number 2 is invest your energy in the most important things that give you the most essential outcome. While the least, though important things, you can delegate to others. Because in that delegation, it also provides for them a platform to acquire skills and become trained. And also in doing that, that helps you relieve the load on my shoulder. There are numerous events that has happened, but all of them culminate in one thing. And every person in ministry who have done ministry for a long time will actually help you, will actually relate with what I want to say. The truth is that I started ministry in 1996, but served at different platforms before 2013, 2014, when School of Destiny was now planted. Because the law of ministry is that if you're not faithful in that one, which is not your own, who will give you your own? So for the past 26, 27 years in ministry, the hand of God has demonstrated and validated his speakings over my life at different phases. But just like Jesus experienced, every man who is in ministry experiences fulfillment at two levels. The first, I'm going to use Jesus' account. The first fulfillment in ministry, it comes not in result. What result does for a minister is to validate what he's doing, but does not give you fulfillment. The first fulfillment a minister always has is when he sees that the people he's training are growing to do the things that that has been invested in their life to deliver. For example, Jesus sent his disciples 2 by 2, and they returned and said, devils were subject to us. The word of God said that Jesus rejoiced in the spirit. So one of the very fulfilling excitement that I have experienced, which most people in ministry will tell you, is the testimony of changed lives. The testimony of changed lives. I've had people come who are homosexuals who are currently within our pastoral crew. God cleaned them up. Those came in with inordinate affection for the opposite sex, even had some of those experiences with his, not opposite sex, with same sex, and even had some escapades with them in that area. But they came, Jesus with his word cleaned them, and they are part of our pastoral crew today. You know, addicts delivered from addiction, people who were purposeless with clarity of purpose, people tormented of devils delivered, sick healed, miracles, healing, testimonies. All those things cannot be compared with the satisfaction you experience in ministry, the testimony of changed lives. Okay, so this is one of, for me, the summation, the signs, the wonders, the healing, the breakthrough. I've seen people who were in debt, now millionaires, running $1 million worth asset companies. I've seen those who came from homes scattered, broken, strong rejections. They have found ministry there, touching other people's life. People came without clarity of purpose. Now they have platforms that they are giving expression to their calling. Okay, but like I said, the greatest testament of revalidation is the testimony of changed lives. I like answering this question because the perks of ministry is different. The life of a minister is different. So who the person will marry has to be different. The difference is not in terms of personality, but in preparation. If you look at the Old Testament in the ecclesiastical order, God marshaled out certain conditions of the person to marry. He told them that a priest must marry a daughter of a Levite or a priest, and they should not marry a divorced person, and that they should not marry a prostitute. There are a couple of things in the Old Testament the scriptures mention. In the New Testament, the Bible said both of them are equal heirs of the grace of life. So most times, people with a calling find themselves making mistake at these following levels. Number one, they select who they want to marry for where they are and not for where they are going to. Number two, they make a mistake in selecting who to marry at the season when their ministry has started giving expression, because the opposite sex is always attracted to results, to resources, or to resourcefulness. Once you have results, Sons of Solomon said it. He said, because of the ointment, the virgins do love thee. So at the peak of some level of results in ministry, you may find a lot of people showing interest, or you finding yourself finding interest in so many people. And that's when a couple of young ministers make a lot of mistakes. So I tend to encourage those who have received clarity of ministry to consider marrying early. So that brings me to what are the things to look out for. Any woman you're going to marry for ministry must be a woman that is trained. If you are going to do ministry, you must marry someone that is trained. Let me explain. Training is not identification with a system or structure. Is any woman that will marry a minister must have served another minister and another pastor's wife. The reason is that being close to them, you would have seen the life of a pastor and a pastor's wife. Because you cannot go inside it and say, I didn't sign up for it. If you go in, you have signed up. So you stay around them, you see the challenges, the burdens, the disciplines, the temptations, the warfare. If a woman have not had this experience and you marry her because she was an usher, chief usher, or served at one capacity or the other, the greatest shock she will receive in ministry is when the burdens, the assault, the challenges, the distress, the despite, even from people you are pastoring, the people you are laboring over. If she have not had the experience and learned how to manage it, her voice will be a voice of division in the heart of the pastor. Number two, she will have a heart of submission. Because a man in ministry is not like an average other man. Even as much as they have their will, they have their dreams, they have their visions, they are subject to a Lord whose will and bidding is superior to their own desire. They can sit down and making plans of how to make certain trips abroad, to do certain things, and in the midst of the midnight worship, Lord will say, you're not going anywhere. And the man is obliged to obey, because his disobedience does not affect him, it affects everybody in the boat with him, including the woman. If the woman is not inclined to submission, then there is going to be a big issue, because her voice will be like the voice of Eve that will produce derailment. And the worst thing that happens to a man is when he's pushed outside the place of his calling. Number three, the woman must have clarity of her calling and must understand how to submit that calling to the man's calling. I'm coming to discuss about the woman. The reason is this, that when a woman knows her ministry and embraces it and doesn't know how to submit it to be complementary to the leadership of the man's ministry, what will happen is that the two are married, but they are running parallel ministry. It will be like King Ahasuerus and Lady Vashti, that the king was organizing a banquet, she was organizing her own. That's division. She should be ministering with her husband, helping to entertain the guests. Then after that, she can do her own. But that disobedience, that even when she was requested to be part of what the king was doing, she obviously disobeyed, which means my thing was more important than your thing. No matter what is right, no matter what you are doing as ministry is right, once you are in disobedience, no matter how good it is, you have been disqualified for ministry. Because whatever you are doing at that time, no matter how good intentions is, no matter what the impact that is perceived is creating, you are doing ministry in error. And the funny thing is that you can do ministry for long, doing what is wrong, without God recognizing it. Kenneth Hagin told us how he was doing pastoral ministry, and God told him, for the past 10 years, you are doing your thing, not my thing. For the third one is that, or the fourth one rather, is that if the man is going to marry a woman for ministry, she will have to be willing to grow with him. Okay? So, now for the woman, you have ministry and men are coming for your hand in marriage. This is where a lot of women make a lot of mistakes. You have a ministry in your mind, what God called you to be. It will be like you are looking for someone like Joyce Meyer that will marry a man who is supportive but not involved. Please let me say it now. That experience is an outlier statistics. It is not the common, because what the biblical injunction command is that you submit. Whatever God called you to do is supposed to help what God called him to do, so that there will not be division. And by doing that, that does not minimize you. If you feel that it minimizes you, it means you are more interested in visibility, not in execution of your calling. So for the woman, the key things you will have to look out for is that the man that is coming in question is a person supportive of ministry. How you know is that during the dating courtship period, the person invested in helping you grow to become a better person. Because a couple of men have insecurity, and you come in, the manifestations of your calling may trigger some level of insecurity in their life, and they end up shutting you down. So before you say I do, be sure that the person is willing to help you groom. Number two, that the person is also doing something about what their calling is. Because if they don't have clarity, what you are bringing to the table as your purpose will have no place to be assigned as a system of help. As a matter of fact, it will not be recognized as help, it will be recognized as a distraction. And then number three is that the person will be, the man in question must be under authority, because that will help guide what the person is doing as they navigate the different phases. Because it's in those phases you guys pass through, you will have to achieve synergy in what God called you to do. I wish I knew that ministry would be this challenging. I really wish I knew. And when they told the children of Israel there is a land that flows with milk and honey, nobody told them that they're going to pass through wilderness. That's why God does not play with his ministers that labor over others. I wish I knew. So if I'm going to advise my younger self, the first thing I would tell the person is brace up for impact. The journey is rough. Treat your beginning as a soldier. put in the best foot. You have a lot of down moments, some challenging moments. Don't waste your energy reminiscing on the things you wish you had done. Pick up yourself and proceed, because there is the learning curve in ministry. But what shortens the learning curve is mentorship. Don't joke with mentorship. If I'm to advise my younger self, is run major decisions of ministry through mentors. But sometimes you just want to do what you feel you are led, only to find out at the end of the road you led yourself. And number 3 is, if I'm to tell my younger self, look for strategic relationship early, because they become system of support when your soul is overwhelmed. When I started out between 2013, 14, down to 2017, I didn't have very close covenant brotherhood within the town. I just had these 2 friends, but I didn't have that people who, when the tour of ministry began to take over my soul, I began to ask God, please connect me to someone before whom I can be naked and not ashamed. That's when God brought them. I'm not talking about having people who are distant. That's good enough, but sometimes you need someone that you can just go in their presence, and just tell yourself, now so they do me. Sometimes things are describing on phone, the person cannot connect, but someone can look at your face and can read in between the lines. Okay? The other thing I will tell my younger self is never be discouraged. Powerful. Now, the mandate is dynamic in its election, because the goal of the vision is to raise leaders, release destiny, turn followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. So we see the vision moving into the next 10 years, having strategic platforms for training people, deploying them. So to that event, we are looking and trusting God that by the next 10 years, we'll have our own property that will have about 2,000 to 3,000 auditorium complex with training annex halls where different trainings can be running simultaneously, on-site, hybrid forms, and with also skill acquisition complex to help for vocational training that empower young people, because one of the expensive aspects of new birth is rehabilitation. Once you start discipling people, you know that discipleship does not end in transformation of their mind, but also empowering them to take responsibility for life so that they can be blessing to others. So we are looking at having part of the complex in that particular site where vocational trainings will be communicated, and then a global leadership institute that will do a lot of collaboration with government agencies to propagate societal transformations at that point. And we are trusting God to have this kind of structure spread out at least the geopolitical regions of the country. Then, or the other one is the virtual impact of the systematized training of people, leveraging on the current virtual space to be able to, the Bible says in the last days, the knowledge of God shall fill the earth as the water covers the sea. So we leverage on that to push out kingdom content in such a systematized way that someone going through it with levels of coaching and mentorship should be able to experience a transformation no matter the space where they are on the globe. And so For example, if someone gives their life to Christ, you'll find out that a lot of them doesn't have a clear blueprint of what to do. Now I'm giving my life to Christ from point A to point B to maturity. And then there are a lot of gaps, and even though the online space seeks to have different individuals trying to meet those needs within those spaces, we want to be the kingdom arm that is very intentional and very systematic to bring the delivery of that at that different spaces. We are trusting that in the next 10 years, we'll have excellent transformational leaders, product of this house, scattered in the 7 continents of the world, leading and producing changes within their field. They will not only lead and produce change, they will start raising others. Now we are trusting if Jesus tarries within that time frame to 20 years. We will be the leading institute that produce kingdom-based men who will stand for, who have the competence and character to bear the vision and the purpose.